Hello, I'm Father Joseph Gambala, pastor of St. Malachy Catholic Church in Sterling Heights, and welcome to our second in our three-part series on Christmas. This topic is shepherds. You know, growing up, one of my favorite Christmas shows that they show every year, and it still is probably my favorite Christmas show, is a Charlie Brown Christmas. And the scene where Linus goes out on stage because Charlie Brown has said, "What is Christmas all about?" And Linus says, "I know what Christmas is all about." He goes out and says, "Lights, please." And he tells the beautiful story from Luke where the angels announced to the shepherds the birth of the Savior in Bethlehem. It's a beautiful story. It truly is the heart and soul of the Christmas message. But have you ever wondered why God chose shepherds to be the first people to hear this good news? Sometimes I think, because most of us only think about shepherds when we get Christmas cards with shepherds on the Christmas card, is back in Jesus' day, and for most of history, and even in certain parts of the world today, shepherds had, and in some places still continue to have, a very bad reputation because being a shepherd is very, very hard work. Let's take the case of shepherds in the time of Jesus in the hills of Bethlehem. If you were a shepherd out there with your flock in the hills of Bethlehem, you're out there all day, all night, you're with this flock. You have to keep them moving to find different patches of grass. You have to keep them moving to get them their water. Furthermore, there are dangers out there. There are jackals. There are some wolves. And yes, in the time of Jesus, there was the Asiatic Syrian black bear were present in those hills, as well as Asiatic lions. And those shepherds in Jesus' time didn't have any firearm to protect themselves with. They did it all with a staff, a sling, and some very faithful shepherd dogs. So it was a dangerous life to protect that flock. And yet, for all their hard and dangerous work, they got paid very little. We probably are familiar with the parable of the shepherd who loses one sheep and leaves the 99 and finds the one to carry it back. And it's a lovely story. But in Jesus today, that one sheep might have represented his profit margin, because most shepherds didn't own their flocks, and it was an arrangement they would make. So you didn't get much money despite working very, very hard. And a shepherd was not someone that the average person in town would want to have their daughter get married to. Like I say, a tough job. Yet these people who had dedicated their lives to protecting a flock and caring for a flock and nurturing flock are the first people chosen. Well, of course, one reason they're chosen is they are indeed poor, because the message of the good news is for everybody, and God chooses to begin the good news of the gospel with some of the poorest people. But he also picks people who will have an understanding of what it means to care and nurture others. Jesus, who's going to be looking after us and caring for us, who is truly our good shepherd, who watches us spiritually and guides us to the heavenly kingdom, is in a spiritual sense the same as a shepherd on earth who takes care of that flock by feeding it and getting it water. And our good shepherd, like the shepherds of old and shepherds today in third worlds, worked very hard for that and underwent many dangers for that, including death itself. He truly was the good shepherd. He did lay down his life for his sheep, and those sheep are us. So when we think about the shepherds receiving the good news, think about how they cared for their flocks, how Christ cares for us, and we who receive the Lord, especially on this Christmas day, we think about Christ present in our lives. Think about the ways that we can be nurturing and kind to others, and through our words and example, tend to their needs, both physical and spiritual.